At the start of the movie, we see a backward village, a small hut house, and a girl coming out of the house with her bags packed. She is very poor, and she is running away from her home and going to the city to look for work. She gets on a bus and heads to the city. On the way, she looks at a pamphlet from a talent agency. It seems as though she has been contacted by that talent agency. In the city of Poipet, she meets a man at the bus station who is from the same talent agency. He greets her and compliments her, then escorts her to the company's van, in which his boss is already sitting. The boss looks like a gangster and looks suspicious. Yet the girl gets into the van, and they drive away. The boss gives water to the girl. She drinks the water and starts to feel dizzy as the water is spiked. The girl falls unconscious, and the van arrives at a warehouse kind of place. The men drag the girl inside, where there are some other men too. The girl keeps crying. They take her to a room, throw her on the bed, and tie her hands and legs to the chains attached to the bed. One of the men takes out a spoon and heats some drug in it. He then fills an injection with it and injects the drug into the girl's arm, while the other man sets up a camcorder. The man who received the girl at the bus station starts to unzip his pants to do something wrong with the girl, but the other one hits him and scolds him. He tells him that damaged merchandise does not sell and tells him to put her in the shipment. Here we see that it is not a simple kidnapping or assault. Instead, it is an organized crime, human trafficking, and this girl has been kidnapped to be sold. The scene shifts, and we see a man dressed up in a black suit arrive at a building. This man is Tony Vidiakal, a detective with the Royal Thai Police (RTP), and he is on a mission. He demonstrates his skill and bravery by infiltrating a group of human traffickers under the guise of purchasing a Thai girl. Through his undercover work, he gathers crucial information about the trafficking network, including details about the ship involved and its intended destination. It is during this investigation that Tony Vidiakal discovers the involvement of Viktor Dragovic, a notorious Serbian mobster known for his involvement in human trafficking, and that he is set to receive the shipment of trafficked girls at the destination. Armed with this valuable information, Tony Vidiakal sets out to thwart Viktor Dragovic's plans and rescue the victims from a fate worse than death. Nick Cassidy, a detective with the Newark Police Department (NPD), uncovers intelligence indicating that Viktor Dragovic, the notorious Serbian mobster, is currently operating within New Jersey. Recognizing the urgency of the situation and the threat posed by Viktor Dragovic's criminal activities, Nick Cassidy wastes no time in coordinating with his superior officer, Captain Costello. Together, Nick Cassidy and Captain Costello brief a team of police officers on the imminent threat posed by Viktor Dragovic. They provide crucial information about Viktor Dragovic's involvement in human trafficking, emphasizing his status as a major player in this nefarious enterprise on a global scale. Their briefing underscores the importance of apprehending Viktor Dragovic and dismantling his criminal network. As the ship transporting Viktor Dragovic's container nears the United States, Nick Cassidy and his team make final preparations to intercept it. Nick Cassidy and his team mobilize to intercept it at the dock. As the ship carrying the trafficked women reaches its destination, Viktor Dragovic is met with a grim discovery: the trafficked women being transported have tragically died during the journey. In a ruthless display of his character, Viktor Dragovic swiftly assigns blame for the tragedy. The ship's captain is singled out and held accountable for the loss of life. Viktor Dragovic orders the captain to be subjected to brutal interrogation methods before executing him with a gunshot to the head. This ruthless act underscores Viktor Dragovic's disregard for human life and reinforces the urgency of bringing him to justice. When the police arrive on the scene, chaos ensues amidst the police operation. A fierce shootout ensues between law enforcement and Viktor Dragovic's criminal associates. Nick Cassidy finds himself in hot pursuit of Viktor Dragovic and his youngest son, Andrei Dragovic, as they attempt to evade capture. In a life-threatening encounter, Nick Cassidy is forced to make a split-second decision to defend himself and ultimately has to fatally shoot Andrei Dragovic. Viktor Dragovic is eventually apprehended by the police and taken into custody. However, Viktor Dragovic's thirst for vengeance knows no bounds. Despite Viktor Dragovic's subsequent arrest, the sinister mobster orchestrates a devastating retaliation against Nick Cassidy. Nick Cassidy's family becomes the target of Viktor Dragovic's vengeful scheme, resulting in the tragic deaths of Nick Cassidy's wife and daughter. The attack leaves Nick Cassidy himself critically wounded by a gunshot to the back. Though critically wounded in the attack, Nick Cassidy miraculously survives despite being shot in the back. This attack leaves Nick Cassidy shattered and driven by a fierce desire for retribution. In the wake of the devastating attack on Nick Cassidy's family, Costello and Reed, an FBI agent, pay a visit to Nick Cassidy as he recuperates in the hospital. They deliver the disheartening news that Viktor Dragovic has managed to secure bail and has subsequently fled the United States, evading the clutches of justice. Left to grapple with his grief and a burning desire for vengeance, Nick Cassidy decides to take matters into his own hands. Capitalizing on a moment of vulnerability, Nick Cassidy discreetly leaves the hospital, stealing clothing and an opiate drug to aid in his quest. Determined to pursue Viktor Dragovic and exact his own brand of justice, Nick Cassidy embarks on a perilous journey fueled by raw determination and unyielding resolve. Fueled by rage and determination, Nick Cassidy takes action. He sets his sights on Viktor Dragovic's attorney, knowing that the key to finding Viktor Dragovic lies with him. Storming into the attorney's restaurant with guns blazing, Nick Cassidy demands information about Viktor Dragovic's whereabouts, employing brute force to coerce the attorney into divulging Viktor Dragovic's location. With the attorney's cooperation secured, Nick Cassidy learns of Viktor Dragovic's location and wastes no time in exacting his own brand of justice. In an act of retribution, Nick Cassidy eliminates the attorney and causes chaos by detonating an explosion in the restaurant, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, Senator Kot delivers a stern warning to Viktor Dragovic, telling him of the imminent threat of arrest and extradition to the United States. He advises him to flee the country immediately to avoid arrest and extradition to the U.S. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Viktor Dragovic is aware of the imminent threat to his freedom, and he is faced with a critical decision about his next move. With time slipping away and the noose tightening around him, Viktor Dragovic resorts to desperate measures to secure his escape. In a bold move, he leverages his influence and power to blackmail Senator Kot into granting him a brief reprieve, buying himself precious time to plan his getaway. As Viktor Dragovic negotiates with the senator for time to evade capture, Nick Cassidy's relentless pursuit of Viktor Dragovic leads him to Thailand, where the mobster seeks refuge in the vast urban landscape. But as Nick Cassidy closes in on his target, his actions raise concerns among U.S. authorities. Branded as unstable and unpredictable, Nick Cassidy becomes a target of scrutiny, and Reed is dispatched to apprehend him under the guise of protecting public safety. As the stakes escalate and tensions mount, Nick Cassidy must navigate a treacherous path filled with danger and deception in his quest to bring Viktor Dragovic to justice. But Nick Cassidy's determination to see his mission through remains unwavering. In Thailand, Tony Vidiakal and his partner Nung are tasked with assisting in Nick Cassidy's arrest. They are thrust into a perilous game of cat and mouse with Nick Cassidy, their target, now on the run in the bustling streets of Thailand. However, as they approach their quarry at Suvarnabhumi Airport, chaos ensues when Nick Cassidy makes a daring escape, slipping through their grasp and disappearing into the darkness. Their pursuit takes a deadly turn when Reed, corrupted by Viktor Dragovic's influence and bribery, seizes the opportunity to kill Nung, pinning the blame on Nick Cassidy and further complicating the situation. With tensions rising and trust in short supply, Tony Vidiakal is torn between duty and allegiance as he races against the clock to apprehend Nick Cassidy before it is too late. Tony Vidiakal gives chase to Nick Cassidy through the bustling streets, but Nick Cassidy proves elusive. Eventually, Nick Cassidy makes his way to Phuket, where he seeks refuge in the neon-lit sanctuary of the nightclub. A brief pause in the midst of the relentless pursuit. But as the shadows lengthen and the noose tightens around him, Nick Cassidy knows that his time is running out. In the nightclub, he employs brutal methods to extract information from one of Viktor Dragovic's associates, uncovering the whereabouts of Viktor Dragovic's operations. With the information gleaned from his interrogation, Nick Cassidy sets his sights on disrupting Viktor Dragovic's nefarious activities, determined to bring him to justice once and for all. However, as Nick Cassidy's actions draw the attention of law enforcement, Tony Vidiakal and Reed close in on their target, converging on the nightclub. As Tony Vidiakal and Reed close in on the nightclub to apprehend Nick Cassidy, a confrontation ensues. Nick Cassidy finds himself locked in a desperate struggle with Tony Vidiakal, each determined to emerge victorious. In the midst of the chaos, Nick Cassidy manages to overpower Tony Vidiakal, albeit sustaining injuries in the process. Despite his injuries, Nick Cassidy seizes the opportunity and manages to slip away once more, leaving Tony Vidiakal and Reed in his wake, his resolve unshaken in the face of adversity. With time running out, Nick Cassidy knows that he must stay one step ahead if he hopes to unravel Viktor Dragovic's sinister web of deceit and bring an end to his reign of terror. As Nick Cassidy delves deeper into Viktor Dragovic's criminal network, Reed's cunning manipulation of the situation threatens to derail his pursuit of justice. Exploiting Tony Vitiacul's personal connections, Reed uncovers a potential informant in the form of Tony Vitiacul's girlfriend, Min, leveraging this newfound information to gain a strategic advantage. Meanwhile, Nick Cassidy's relentless quest to locate Viktor Dragovic's illegitimate son, Janko Dragovic, who manages the human trafficking operations in Southeast Asia, leads him into a deadly confrontation with Janko Dragovic's men. Gunfire echoes through the streets as Nick Cassidy clashes with Janko Dragovic's armed men. Nick Cassidy must navigate treacherous terrain in the midst of the shootout to uncover vital clues that will lead him closer to unraveling Viktor Dragovic's sinister scheme. Nick Cassidy's determination is tested to the limit as he races against the clock to dismantle Viktor Dragovic's human trafficking operation before it is too late. As the violent confrontation reaches its climax, Janko Dragovic flees the warehouse. He falls victim to his half-brothers Ivan Dragovic and Goran Dragovic's ruthless schemes, who see him as a liability to their criminal enterprise. He is killed by his half-brothers, Ivan Dragovic and Goran Dragovic. Meanwhile, Tony Vitiacal learns the devastating truth about his partner's untimely death as a result of Reed's betrayal. Tony Vitiacal, fueled by righteous fury, acts quickly and decisively, engaging in a fierce struggle that ends with Reed's death. With justice served for his fallen comrade, Tony Vitiacul's resolve is strengthened as he prepares to face the mastermind behind it all, Viktor Dragovic. Before his death, Janko Dragovic revealed the location of his father. As the sun rises on the decisive day, Nick Cassidy and Tony Vitiacal join forces and storm Viktor Dragovic's heavily fortified compound in a daring assault. In the chaos of the confrontation, Ivan Dragovic, one of Viktor Dragovic's sons, finds himself in a tense standoff with Tony Vitiacal and takes Min, Tony Vitiacul's girlfriend, at gunpoint. With nerves of steel, Tony Vitiacal takes aim and eliminates the threat, saving Min from harm. Meanwhile, Nick Cassidy unleashes his full firepower, using a rocket launcher to destroy a vehicle and disrupt Viktor Dragovic's escape plans. This maneuver causes Viktor Dragovic's helicopter to take off without him, leaving the mobster exposed on the ground. With Viktor Dragovic's helicopter forced to depart without him, the stage is set for a final showdown on the battleground. As the intense firefight rages on between the detectives and Viktor Dragovic's henchmen, bullets fly and tensions rise. Goran Dragovic, the criminal dynasty's last surviving heir, finds himself locked in a fierce battle with Tony Vitiacal. Tony Vitiacal emerges victorious in a brutal display of combat prowess, defeating Goran Dragovic and removing the final barrier between them and justice. Meanwhile, Nick Cassidy confronts Viktor Dragovic in a brutal final struggle. Despite Viktor Dragovic's attempt to escape in a second helicopter, Nick Cassidy refuses to relent, engaging in fierce hand-to-hand combat with the notorious criminal. In a moment of decisive action, Nick Cassidy delivers a fatal blow, stabbing Viktor Dragovic in the chest. As Viktor Dragovic's life slips away, Viktor Dragovic delivers a haunting revelation to Nick Cassidy with his last breath, divulging that Sofia Cassidy is indeed alive but has been sold into the grim world of human trafficking. As Viktor Dragovic succumbs to his injuries and breathes his last breath, Nick Cassidy is left reeling from the weight of this revelation, consumed with guilt for failing to discover Sofia Cassidy's whereabouts sooner. Nick Cassidy is left with the realization that his daughter's ordeal is far from over. As the dust settles from the intense confrontation, Nick Cassidy finds himself facing a new reality, one filled with the weight of unresolved questions and the fervent hope of reuniting with his daughter. Nick Cassidy prepares to embark on a solitary quest to rescue Sofia Cassidy from the clutches of the traffickers. With a heavy heart, he bids farewell to Tony Vitiacal and Min, entrusting them with a precious picture of Sofia Cassidy to safeguard until he can bring her home. Setting out on a solitary journey fueled by determination and unwavering resolve, Nick Cassidy embarks on a quest to find his daughter. Driven by an unyielding commitment to reunite with his beloved daughter, Nick Cassidy ventures into the unknown, ready to confront whatever challenges lie ahead. The movie ends here.
Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.